Kiana Jones. En cinquième vote sur le centre, numéro 5, batting fifth, center fielder number 5, Callum Pilgrim. Au sixième rang, la joueuse désignée de Vivelo. Batting sixth, catcher number 20, Nicole Rivet. En septième, joue au troisième but, numéro 77. Batting seventh, playing third base, number 77, Grace Mesmer. Au huitième rang, la joueuse à l'attaque numéro 11, batting eighth, OPO number 11, Kristen Boyd. Avant neuvième, vote sur le gauche numéro 22, batting ninth, left fielder number 22, Riley Crane. En position flex, lanceur numéro 4, in the flex position, pitching number 4, Sam Ryan. Les substituts, the alternates, numéro 2, number 2, Natalie Whiteman. Numéro 3, number 3, Erica Polidori. Numéro 6, number 6, Madeline McKinnon. Numéro 8, number 8, Morgan Reimer. Numéro 9, number 9, Dawn Bodrug. Numéro 10, number 10, Ruby Anderson. Numéro 17, number 17, Sarah Groenwegen. Numéro 19, number 19, Emma Ensminger. Numéro 28, number 28, Nicola Simpson. Numéro 99, number 99, Morgan Rackel. Team Canada. Voici l'équipe locale pour ce match. Here's the home team for this game. Team Greece. Comme en première, joueuse désignée numéro 7, batting first, designated player number 7, Molly Collender. Au deuxième rang, vote sur le centre numéro 16, batting second, center fielder number 16, Georgia Polidoros. En troisième, joue au premier but numéro 27, batting third, playing first base, number 27, Zoe Stavros. En quatrième, jouant au troisième but numéro 5, batting fourth, playing third base, number 5, Jana Want. Au cinquième rang, vote sur le droite, numéro 15, batting fifth, playing right field, number 15, Maria Zepeda. En sixième, jouant en deuxième but numéro 13, batting sixth, playing second base, number 13, Brianna Nikaza. En septième, receveur numéro 21, batting seventh, catcher number 21, Nicole Cattell. Au huitième rang, vote sur le gauche numéro 20, batting eighth, left fielder number 20, Olivia Pess. En neuvième, very cool, numéro 18, batting 9, shortstop, number 18, Edie Porteas. En position flex, lanceur, numéro 23, the flex position, pitching number 23, Kyle Evans. Les substituts, the alternates, numéro 10, number 10, Kate Karamuzis. Numéro 9, number 9, Sydney Scapin. Numéro 1, number 1, Chelsea Runyon. Numéro 17, number 17, Lauren Stavros. Numéro 33, number 33, Zoe Milonopoulos. Numéro 2, number 2, Julia Apostolakos. Team Greece. Les arbitres pour ce match, the umpires for this game. Au nord, à home plate, Jonas Christensen. Au premier but, at first base, Nicolas Eugia. Au deuxième but, at second base, Annie Michaud. Au troisième but, at third base, Adam Nicoloni. Mesdames, Messieurs, veuillez maintenant vous lever, retirer les chapeaux et casquettes pour l'interprétation des hymnes nationaux du Canada et de la Grèce. Ladies and gentlemen, please now rise, remove your hats and caps for the national anthems of Canada and Greece. Bonne chance aux deux équipes et bon match. Best of luck to both teams. Have a great game.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Softball City. It is day number 2 of the Women's International 8-team competition. And in this afternoon's game, we have 1-0, the host team, Team Canada, who won their opening game yesterday evening with a resounding 9-0 triumph over the Australian development team, taking on Team Greece. And Team Greece, a youthful squad in this 8-team event that features the likes of Canada, Japan, Italy, and Mexico to begin with, not to forget about one of the true favorites in TC, Colorado. But Team Greece, under the guidance of Tony Foti, young, looking for experience, and they fell in both of their games yesterday to Israel 4-0 in the afternoon, and then dropped the nightcap to Team Mexico by a score of 7-0. Glad to be back with you here on another lovely day for softball in South Surrey, British Columbia, the White Rock area. And my name is Peter Loubardias, alongside the former Italian Olympic shortstop and longtime national team member Amanda Fama. And Amanda, when you think back to yesterday, were there one or two takeaways that stood out for you as we had a chance to, by and large, see everyone play with the exception of one team, and that is TC Colorado?
Yeah, Peter, I saw a few things. Some positives. I think we came out, a lot of teams came out nervous, but then once they got those jitters out, they started to step up their game, and I think we'll see that here with Team Greece. But, you know, it's early in the tournament, and so I think they're going to continue to have some flaws, but also some success, and I'd like to see some more big hits today as the jitters kind of fade for both teams and every team in the tournament.
Well, Canada went with the ace of their staff last night in that win, Sarah Groenwagen, who struck out 8 today. We will see one of the newcomers in her second Canada Cup, Samantha Ryan, and Team Greece will go once again with Kyla Benz, and we saw Benz in action a couple of times yesterday as she looks to shut down changed, but still I think talented Canadian lineup, led by the likes of Kelsey Harshman, who will lead things off. And she was 1 for 1. She was on base 3 different times, doubled, and drove in one of the Canadian runs before she was lifted later in the game. Now, head coach Kaylee Rafter, the longtime catcher of the Canadian national program, there is the lineup that she has put together for today. Zoe Hicks moving up a little bit. The same thing with Janet Leung. Pilgrim, who had a wonderful start, double, a home run, and drove in a couple for Canada. And as far as the rest of the lineup, we will see a couple of changes in Grace Mesmer, who gets the start today at third base, Kristen Boyd, and Riley Crane, who had her first at-bat for the national team, at least here. She was taking part in national team games prior to this event against the Florida Vibe in Nashville. Canada played 4 times against that women's pro fast pitch team in Nashville before arriving here earlier in the week. And Canada getting set. It's their first of 2. And not to take anything away from this one, but I think the next 2 games on the slate for us today, different, but very important. And none more so, actually, than the game we're about to call at 3:30. And it is Ukraine Day, as thanks to the generosity of so many Canadians and others in the world, over $60,000 was raised to bring the Ukraine under-19 national team out of their war-torn country. That amazing that they are here. They have been absolutely celebrated. And it will be an emotional time as they take on the Aloha Breeze, a team that, yes, has a Hawaiian name, but is a group of players that, by and large, hail from the state of Oregon and Washington. As we await the start of this Canadian game, and then the premier game of the day today in regards to the international competition. And it's a real set-the-stage game, and I don't think it will be the last time we see them in the tournament. I will not be the least bit surprised if Canada and your, can't say old group, you were just there a year ago, but the team you're most familiar with, and that's Team Italy. And what every time they play here will be is a precursor to the World Cup qualifier that will be staged later this month in Italy. So whether it's pitching decisions, who's going to play, and we expect both of those teams. We know everybody's going to be in the playoffs come Saturday and Sunday, but finishing here in the top four is a huge advantage. Japan, obviously, the heavy favorite. I would say after that, you're looking at the combination of Italy, Canada, and TC Colorado, not necessarily in that order, as they continue to work on the circle here at the main diamond, and a beautiful one it is. What a setting. If you've never been here, I highly, highly recommend it. It is a terrific facility. One of the best, certainly in Canada. Right there with, and yes, I'm partial to it, but Bob Van Impe Stadium in Saskatoon, and the Gordie Howe Park complex is marvelous, and there are other great softball areas in Canada as well, but this one is named Softball City for a reason. And the grounds crew trying their best. It looks like the spot there is a little watered down as to what they were hoping for, as the officials going out to make sure everything is playable. And in just a few seconds' time, Canada will take on Greece in their second game of this tournament. 8 teams are here this year. Field is cut by 4 teams, but I think that's fine. And in some respects, a difficult draw for some countries. Team USA is not here. They started their World Cup qualifying tournament today in Dublin, Ireland, and won their first game, to no one's surprise. And Kyla Benz and Team Greece take the field, looking to pull an upset here this afternoon, and they will send Kyla Benz to the circle in hopes of shutting down Kelsey Harshman and Canada's attack. From your experience, how important is it, especially for the young teams, is their hitting lineup for Team Greece, which doesn't exactly look like the one I have in my hands, but we'll put that all together. In fact, now that I reassess mine, been used to Colander leading off, but playing in left. She'll be the designated player in this game. So that's how Tony Foti will line things up. And defensively, we'll get there as well with Polidorus in center. Maria Zepeda back in right field again. In left, it's Olivia Pass, who played there against Israel. And the battery behind the plate is Nicole Kittel. And the pitcher is indeed Kyla Benz, making her third appearance. And we are set to begin with Kelsey Harshman leading things off. Hails from Delta, British Columbia, which is just down the road. British Columbia in the women's game produces the majority of Canada's top talent. Not all of it by any stretch, but and this area in particular, and facilities, the fact, and Amanda, you won't necessarily understand this, but this is one place in our country where the weather is good enough to extend the season. So there are places where I'm from in the prairies and others, your softball season might be 4 months long, at least being outside. So you being from California, where it's a 12-month-a-year scenario when it works that way, that is a massive advantage that the country I am from, being Canada, does not have. As we are underway, a 2-ball count to Harshman, who always displays great patience. I mentioned it yesterday. I'll mention it again. I refer to Kelsey Harshman as a professional hitter. Great eye, good poise, can hit the ball hard to all fields. Up the middle on the 3-0, and it gets away from Brianna Nakaza. And another at-bat and another situation where Kelsey Harshman finds herself on base. As she was given the green light on that pitch and drove it up the middle and credited with the game's first hit. And here's a newcomer to the Canadian program, and I like what I see in my first viewings. Zoe Hicks, and there's a reason why. Into the gap. It's her third hit of the tournament. Harshman gets the wave from Chris Jones, and Zoe Hicks from Boissevain, Manitoba, drives in Canada's first run with a double to left center.
Shortstop, number 14, Janet Pine.
And Zoe Hicks making a big impression here at the Canada Cup. She's now 3 for 4 with a double and a run scored, and got off to a great start in a 4-game exhibition series against the Florida Vibe of the Women's Professional Fast Pitch League in the United States in a 4-game series in Nashville. Is Janet Leung hitting in the number 3 spot in Kaylee Rafter's order. And Leung rips the Ben's offering. Hicks gets the stop sign and dives back into third as Janet Leung, coming off a 2 for 3 day against Australia, opens her game with a base hit.
I don't think it's any surprise that we're seeing Canada be so aggressive right now. I think they're going to continue to be aggressive at the plate and really make a statement leading into tonight's game against Italy. They want to get some momentum rolling, and I think we're going to see a lot of runs put on the board here.
21-year-old Kiana Jones from right here in Surrey, the batter, and takes strike one from Kyla Benz, who has given up 3 consecutive hits in a run to open up this game. Canada, the heavy favorite, and one of the favorites to play for the title come Sunday evening. That's when this 8-team event will wrap up. And then 3 of the teams will really start to dig in towards the World Cup qualifier. And that's Canada, Italy, and the reigning Olympic champion Team Japan, who, behind the pitching of star Miyagato, Jones, and a fabulous running catch by Georgia Polidorus. He could see the reflection off her glasses, and she takes a hit away from Kiana Jones, who really leans into it. Terrific running catch by Polidorus to record the first out, and Hicks scored easily on what will be scored a sacrifice fly and a run batted in.
And great job on her getting the ball in quick. That one run's going to score for sure, but she held another run at third with getting that ball in so quick.
And Janet Leung can run, the 29-year-old veteran shortstop. And Callum Pilgrim, the star of the show last night in many ways, has become a bigger part of this Team Canada program. No Victoria Hayward. Still trying to check on the condition of Larissa Franklin, who is on the roster. Played in the series in Nashville, and certainly hoping from a Canadian perspective that she is all right. And Pilgrim, who homered and doubled, nearly did it again. We mentioned, Amanda, during the games yesterday about confidence, and I can't imagine that Abbotsford's Callum Pilgrim isn't feeling it in a big way. She was 2 for 3, a couple of RBIs, a double, and a home run in Canada's opener yesterday evening versus Australia. Janet Leung, the runner at first, as Pilgrim looked to drive the pitch the opposite way and fouled it back.
Yeah, she's got some great momentum leading into this game, leading into this at-bat. Again, talking about how key momentum is leading into big games. So hopefully she can keep her momentum, her hits going throughout this game against Greece and leading into tonight's game.
A first-year head coach at Lindsey Wilson College certainly hasn't hurt her hitting. Maybe all the extra studying and instruction of her own players in her college program has set her up for more success, the 26-year-old.
I'm sure she takes a little batting practice here and there.
In on her hands, they'll come home, and the throw gets away from Cattell. As they had Leung hung up with nowhere to go, but the throw gets away from the catcher. And Canada adds to its advantage. It is 3-0 in the top of the first as Pilgrim on base on the fielder's choice and scampered all the way to second, as you just witnessed. On the error. Not sure if it goes to the catcher or the pitcher in that case. It was somewhat borderline. So 3-0 is the count. And the batter is Nicole Rivet. And Rivet grounds it. And Gina Want, who's a Canadian, just 17 years of age, from Ontario, fields it well on a bit of a short hop and makes a strong throw across the diamond for out number 2.
Third base player number 77, Grace Mesmer.
Grace Mesmer at the plate has been playing collegiately at Oregon State University in Corvallis, Oregon. They have a quality program there in the Pac-12, along with UCLA. That was a stunner in the college world when the number 2 ranked team in NCAA softball did not even get out of the regional. And Mesmer has her first hit of the Canada Cup, and it is an RBI single. As Canada, with 4 hits and 4 runs, off and scoring to begin.
Catcher number 11, Kristen Boyd.
As we get our first look at Carbon, Alberta's Kristen Boyd has been playing at the University of New Mexico, and another national team newcomer who had a good swing. Boyd hit .214 this year at New Mexico, 4 home runs, 12 runs batted in. Spent 2 years at Temple College before moving into a Division I program at New Mexico. The Lobos. The inside pitch. And do not see anyone warming up yet.
The Lobos have a great program. I know they Andrea Howard, our former first baseman, went there, and they have a good program, up and coming and winning.
Well, Kristen Boyd, a part of that. She is one of 2 Albertans on the team. The other is pitcher Morgan Rackle, who's from Calgary. And Canada has come out swinging. Mesmer, after the RBI single, at first. She's 22 years old and from nearby Cloverdale. In her second consecutive Canada Cup tournament for Grace Mesmer on this national team. Figures to be a fixture for a long time, and Boyd, another good cut. Anytime you see a ball fouled straight back to the screen, by and large, that means you just missed it, right?
Pretty much, yeah. These Canadians are swinging hard, no doubt.
Good luck at Kristen Boyd. Canada going with a bit of an expanded roster. High in the air, the wind can be a factor, but Pess settles under it for Team Greece. And Canada gets the job done. 4 runs, 4 hits. They took advantage of one Greek error. And Greece coming to bat in a hole here on day number 2 of Softball's Canada Cup at Softball City. Nice crowd forming in the afternoon. We had a big one for Canada's first game, and I'm guessing that will be the case again for Canada's game at 6 o'clock tonight in a showdown affair with Team Italy. Is Molly Colander, who's the designated player, played 2 games yesterday for Team Greece in left. And facing Samantha Ryan, who has dual citizenship. She is from Monroe, New York, went to Chattanooga State Community College before going to Louisiana, where she is headed next. And the Cajuns are a good program, too, as Ryan deals in her second consecutive Canada Cup. Pitched 5 1/3 innings in the event last year, which was staged earlier than normal on the calendar. It took place in late June. As softball continues to work out tournament and World Cup qualifiers, and at one point in time it would be marvelous. This event has such an incredible history in a great area known for women's and girls softball. To have this really be potentially an annual event with the top 8 or 10 teams on the planet. And I know that that is the vision if the dates can work. And it's one of the reasons that Team USA is not here, because they're playing right now in a World Cup stage qualifier. 1 of 3, and Colander has herself a base hit. Molly Colander her third hit of the tournament. She's now 3 for 7, and Team Greece with just what the doctor ordered, a leadoff single for Kolander.
Center fielder number 16, Georgia Polidoros.
She fought it off into the outfield off Samantha Ryan. And Polidoros takes a strike. Canada's pitching staff with a massive turnover since the bronze medal winning performance. Canada's first ever medal in Olympic Games competition in Tokyo a couple of summers ago. But it's a very drastically different staff that no longer includes Jenna Kyra, Danielle Laurie, Sarah Groenwagen did not play last year, but she is back, the 28-year-old, to lead the Canadian staff. But it's a youthful group, to be sure. And a diving try off the glove of Janet Leung. And Greece off to a good beginning in the bottom of the first with back-to-back base hits from Kolander. And Georgia Polidoros, who made a fine play in center field in the top half of the inning.
Yeah, Greece has some momentum going. It's important to get those first 2 runners on, and they have that. Hopefully they can clutch up, get a run or 2 across the board here.
So Samantha Ryan looking to find an out. It's her first appearance of the event. And it gets away from today's catcher, Nicole Rivet, and that allows Greece to move not 1 but 2 runners into scoring position, and they'd love nothing more to cut into that big 4-0 deficit. They have yet to score a run in the tournament, shut out twice yesterday by Israel and Mexico. Leung looks at home, checks, and throws over to first. You were a tremendous shortstop. I'm not sure you can play it much better than Janet Leung just did.
Yeah, she did a great job charging the ball. It's a great job getting a ground ball out of that at-bat. If you're going to put the ball in play, that's what the defense wants, is an easy ground ball, keeping the runner at third and getting an out of it.
Samantha Ryan did throw in the World Games in Birmingham, Alabama, and Kelsey Harshman looked like it might elude her, but Canada's second base player just reached up to make a terrific catch.
Kelsey saw that right off the bat. She had a great angle and just reacted. Great job there, second baseman.
Takes a hit away from a Canadian, and Jana Want is from Stony Creek, Ontario, playing for Team Greece. Gets away from Rivet. Here's Kolander, and the throw is wide. And Polidoros thought about racing in, and Team Greece has its first run of the Canada Cup.
And Peter, that's why it's so big to get those 2 runners on, is because when you put the pressure on, errors start to happen. And I'm sure Canada is going to look over this game, see these balls that they're missing. But it's important to have those runners in scoring position, so when those errors happen, they're able to clutch up and come through.
And an opportunity for Maria Zepeda, who's fine. Little dance step on her way down to first base. She was 0 for 3 in the 2 games yesterday. Took one off the thigh from Samantha Ryan. So just when Canada looked like it might get out of trouble with nothing against, Greece is on the board, and Polidoros remains at third base. And it's one of my great fascinations with Team Canada as this tournament progresses, is how Kaylee Rafter will handle this young pitching staff. How often will she use the pitcher who I know is going to see the lion's share of the work in a couple of weeks in Italy, as Canada in a very difficult pool of 6 with Italy and Japan, just to name two. We'll try to grab one of the top two spots because that guarantees you a berth in next year's Field of 8, the World Championship, now referred to as the World Cup of softball, as the WBSC has changed the name. Good swing by Brianna Nakaza, who's playing again at second. We've seen her there in every game. In search of Nakaza's first hit, she's 0 for 6 in the tournament. She is from Chicago, Illinois. Change up, hit well, and finds a gap. 1 run scores. Cepeda struggling with a bit of an injury after being hit by a pitch in Greece on Brianna Nakaza's RBI double. Cut the gap to 4-2.
Great job keeping this momentum going. It's good to see Greece put some runs on the board here.
And a hit for Nakaza. Her first was a dynamite drive to the gap in right center. And Greece right back in the game. They have 3 hits of their own. And that has to help their offensive confidence as Sam Ryan delivers a second strike to catcher Nicole Cattell. Cattell yesterday in action, played in 1 game. And Sam Ryan thought she recorded her first strikeout of appearance number 1. Cattell, with 2 runners in scoring position, could tie the game with a base hit and stays alive on the 1-2 pitch from Samantha Ryan in her second consecutive Canada Cup tournament with Canada's national women's team. It's a big at-bat in the game. On the ground, Harshman to end the inning. However, Team Greece has its first 2 runs on 3 hits. And it's 4-2 for the host team after 1 at the Canada Cup. Canada leading 4-2. Already 6 runs in the game and 7 hits combined. Canadian newcomer is Riley Crane. She recorded her first hit. She was 1 for 1 last night. Came in late in the game. Played at second for Kelsey Harshman in Canada's 9-0 victory over Australia. Grew up in Tucson, but has dual citizenship. In the air, circling in Millinopolis. Zoe Milanopoulos all around it and was able to bring it in.
That's a tough ball to track. That was hit pretty high, and she's got to get under that, track it the whole way in.
And Zoe Milanopoulos in the game now at shortstop. Has a very strong throwing arm. Harshman, look out. Kaylee Rafter. Kaylee does not coach at third base. It's different for different coaches. Some will run the show from in the dugout, and others like to be on the field at third, primarily. Kaylee chatting with Kelsey Harshman. Had a great experience. She was an assistant this year, a volunteer assistant at Florida State. And Florida State losing the College World Series best of three final to Oklahoma. Under the guidance of Lonnie Alameda, who has been a fixture of Canada's coaching staff and one of the best in the United States for a long time. Kelsey Harshman, she played at the University of Wisconsin, and her career average was .418 for the Badgers. And she was trying to take that ball out of the yard. One for one already today. 2 for 2 in the tournament is Kelsey. And gets around on that inside offering. She was 5 for 13 at the World Games. Had a massive Canada Cup last year, 11 for 19, batted .579 with 12 runs batted in. And the one bouncer from Kyla Benz making her second appearance of the event. She pitched 3 innings yesterday. Gave up 3 hits. Did not give up a run, but she's given up 4 of those today. But facing more difficult lineups, I don't want to take anything away from Mexico, but I'd say at this stage, Canada's batting lineup maybe a little tougher than Team Mexico. But that'll be a good showdown later. And Harshman strikes out, and she didn't like it. Thought it was outside. As Kyla Benz has 2 outs and her first strikeout of this game. And striking out Kelsey Harshman is never an easy chore. Doesn't matter if you're Monica Abbott or anyone in the sport.
That's going to give her some confidence, too, leading into the rest of this Canada roster and this lineup. Good for her.
Benz facing Zoe Hicks, who doubled and drove in a run in her first at-bat. And drills it again. And she's on her way to second. Does she get the wave? Chris Jones, a great shortstop in his own right. Longtime member of Canada's national team, coaching at third. Looks after the infielders primarily. And he must be delighted with Zoe Hicks and her beginning to this event. Canada may have found a staple. It'll be interesting to watch Zoe against teams like Italy this evening, Japan, TC Colorado, but hard not to like how she swings it. Back-to-back doubles today for Zoe Hicks. In the tournament, the Manitoban is now 4 for 5. And Janet Leung vying for her second hit of the game. She has 3 hits in the tournament as well. Takes on the inner half for a strike. Janet Leung moved way up in the order. In recent years, she's generally been found in the number 8 or 9 spot. The fine fielding shortstop from Mississauga, Ontario.
I'd like to point out her stance. We were talking about batting stances yesterday, and Janet has one that I've never seen anywhere else. She starts nice and close. Her feet are close together. She's got a slight leg kick, but that's her load. Like we were talking about yesterday, she builds up some power in that backside and explodes forward like she had earlier this game. Got a nice double.
Benz misses outside. Janet 2 for 3 last night, scored a couple of runs. Has scored a run today and has a base hit to her credit as well. Canada looking to regain a larger advantage after Greece cut into their 4-0 lead that they put on the board here in the top of the first. Next up, one to remember, Team Ukraine. Can't even imagine what they have lived and been through as Leung sends it foul right into the screen in front of her own dugout. And Janet Leung hitting in the number 3 hole today. Was in the number 5 spot against Australia one night ago.
I'd be interested to see what size bat she uses. See how she chokes up a little bit? She's got an inch. Oh, speaking of the bat. Oh, no, it hit her elbow.
Almost looked like it went off the knob end of the bat. As one of Canada's all-time great hitters, now coaching at first and coaching at Central Florida, Jen Salling. Looks and checks to see if Janet's all right, and she certainly seemed to be. Kiana Jones hit a ball deep to right center that Georgia Polidorus tracked down beautifully. Kiana's first at-bat. She's played the last couple of years at the University of North Carolina for the Tar Heels. A beautiful campus. High fly ball. Milanopoulos takes care of it. And Kyla Benz works her way out. And Canada continues to lead 4-2 over 0-2 Team Greece on day 2 of the Canada Cup. Team Greece on the board today. They're 0-2. They were shut out a couple of times. They threatened on about 3 different occasions last night in their loss to Mexico, as Mexico had one big inning to blow that game open with a 4-run bottom of the third. And Samantha Ryan looking to settle in after giving up 2 runs, 3 hits. And a pass ball did not, or a wild pitch, did not aid the cause either. Pass lifts it. Tough sun. And Riley Crane out in left field. Calls off Janet Leung and does it well.
Which is a good call because that's a tough play for the shortstop to go back like that. Way easier for the outfielder coming in.
So the youngster Crane played an inning and a half yesterday. I think only one defensive inning at second before the game came to an end against Australia in a 9-0 Canadian victory. And Samantha Ryan with a little red hot on that delivery. 1 ball and 1 strike to Eve Borneus, listed on my lineup card as the shortstop, but it was definitely Milanopoulos in the last inning, number 33, not 18, who made a couple of plays over there. I'm not always a big fan of the flex, the designated player, how the lineup looks, and then it doesn't transform that way. Things change.
It can get confusing.
They can. And a strikeout, that's not confusing. The first of the tournament for Samantha Ryan. On her way to the University of Louisiana next year to play for the Ragin' Cajuns. And Colander, who singled and scored one of the 2 runs, fouls the first pitch back. Colander looks like she is one of the young Greek players with a bright future. A ball and a strike to Molly Colander. She's from Danville, California. Played collegiately at California Baptist. And has her second hit of the afternoon, does the leadoff batter for Team Greece on this Tuesday. And there is starting to be activity for Canada. Samantha Ryan has given up 4 hits and a couple of runs, and Polidorus has one of those 4 hits. Good inside pitch off her fists and goes foul. Around the diamond for Canada, Mesmer at third, Leung Harshman at shortstop and second, and Kiana Jones is at first. Behind the plate, Rive. Borneus could be 2. Doesn't have to be. They only needed 1. A little stumble and a touch for Kelsey Harshman, retiring. Team Greece, who leave 1 stranded, and it remains 4-2 Canada on day 2 here at Softball City. Callum Pilgrim, her second at-bat, reached on a fielder's choice in the first in a 4-run Canadian top of the first. Kyla Benz remains in the circle, her second appearance. Has given up 5 hits and the 4 runs. Team Greece with an error, as well as getting around on it is Pilgrim. She launched one foul in the same neighborhood in her first at-bat. Homered last night, doubled. Had just 7 at-bats officially in last year's Canada Cup. And Nicole Rivet says, keep that inside pitch away from me in the on-deck circle. Tough enough behind the plate working without dodging foul balls. And Pilgrim, the Canadian center fielder, and has another hit. And it is such a bonus for Canada to have Pilgrim, Canada without one of their true stars, and Victoria Hayward just got hired full-time to be on Heather Tarr's staff at the University of Washington. Not sure if her national team days are over. Chatted with Kaylee Rafter about that recently in Oshawa, and people have to get on with their lives in certain respects. There's a lot of responsibilities. There's a stolen base now, just to add to her fine tournament for Abbotsford's Callum Pilgrim. So, not closing the book for Canada as far as Victoria Hayward is concerned, but not involved this year, and that will be a big miss. So to have Callum Pilgrim in center field and swinging it well is something that Team Canada hopes will continue not only the rest of the week, but hopefully at the 6-team World Cup qualifier coming up later this month in Italy. And Rivet leans in to that pitch from Benz and pulls it just foul down the line.
Yeah, the Canada roster is doing well, filling that hole with Hayward not being here, possibly not playing anymore. But sometimes it takes 2 or 3 players to fill a spot like Hayward's, and they're doing a great job.
That'll be interesting again to watch as these games grow in level. Rivet on the ground. Nakaza will go to first. And there is one out. Hit behind the runner allowed Callum Pilgrim to move to third base. One of those good pieces of hitting where you somewhat give yourself up, right, to move the runner.
Yep. Nice outside pitch. She goes with it, hits it to the right side, advances the runner over to third.
Grace Mesmer 1 for 1. The outfielder Pest took a step in. Off the wall it goes, and Grace Mesmer is 2 for 2 with a single, a double, and now her second run batted in. Grace Mesmer having a great game this afternoon, and Canada increases its lead to 5-2.
I love when hitters swing at the first pitch and get a quality hit out of it. I was a first pitch hitter, and sometimes you get your best pitch early in the count. And so that's a great job on her being aggressive and going after that first pitch.
Mesmer, 2 hits, 2 runs batted in today. And the batter is Kristen Boyd. 0 for 1 in the game. Another Canadian newcomer to the national women's team program. From Carbon, Alberta. I have spent the last 15 years primarily in Alberta. I'm not exactly sure where Carbon, Alberta is, but I'm going to look it up because that's what I do. She has a good swing. That's been on display here this afternoon. And I do like it in our country when you see more representation from more than Ontario and British Columbia.
Yeah, it's great to get talent from all over the country.
So Kristen Boyd, we talked about her earlier in the broadcast, playing Division I now in New Mexico. And Benz finds the inner half. And the count is full on Boyd with one out in the top of the third. In Canada with a run home on Grace Mesmer's RBI double. She is from nearby Cloverdale, and that does go off the knob end of the bat. That keeps Greece's hopes alive of getting another out. And they have activity now brewing. I think it's Dawn Bodrug for Canada working down the line. She's from Georgetown, Ontario. Was at the Canada Cup last year, but she was injured, so did not participate. And Boyd on base with a one-out walk.
Left fielder number 22, Riley Crane.
Riley Crane made a nice play earlier in left field. Obviously versatile. We saw her come into the game last night against Australia at second. She has a hit. Looked like she wanted to punch that bunt past the charging third base player and Jana Want, but ended up fouling it back.
Looked like a bunt and run. The runners, I believe, were going on that too.
Well, we'll keep an eye. Swing and a miss, and Benz gets ahead of 22-year-old Riley Crane. Ties to Toronto and Tucson, Arizona. Played her first season at a good school at Wisconsin in the 2022-2023 season. Hit .220 there. I'm sure her role will continue to increase. And this experience is great. Milanopoulos ranging. And the young 18-year-old shortstop for Team Greece handles a pop-up off the bat of Crane for a second consecutive time this afternoon.
She's got a lot of balls over there. Not hard balls, but not easy balls either. They're in weird spots, high.
Kelsey Harshman with a run batted in opportunity. Struck out on a pitch that she thought was outside on a full count her last time up. Officially 2 for 3 so far in the tournament. Was the top average hitter at this event last year. .579. Hit it hard. Nakaza can't handle it. Mesmer comes around to score, number 77. And Canada has 6. And I'm going to guess that will be scored an error, but we'll wait for the official scorer to have their say. One of those in-betweeners, I think, in terms of it could go over what either way. We'll see if it's a nice home scoring event or an error. And I don't think I've seen that decision yet. There's Harshman at first. And it is scored E4. As Mesmer came around to score. And Hicks vying for her third hit of the day. Deep, not quite deep enough for the Manitoban, who's swinging it well at the Canada Cup. Canada, 2 more in the third, and they've upped their lead to 4 once again. 6-2 as we go to the bottom of the third on a lovely Tuesday in July. Greece trailing by 4 for the second time after Canada put up a 2 spot in the top half of the inning. As Canada looks to run its round-robin record to 2-0, all 8 teams will play the other teams, so 7 round-robin games. It's a busy schedule. Amanda, how taxing is it to play more than once in a day at this level, or is that overblown?
It's not too tough. A lot of these athletes have prepared for that. But it's physically and mentally struggling. You're in every pitch. You're moving every pitch. So both ways, it's tough, but this is what you do.
Can it be hard to handle some of the longer days if Italy doesn't play today until 6? That's foul off the bat of Zoe Stavru, or is it in some ways easier to get into a routine with a 6 o'clock start and being able to set your day and go through video in the morning? I know that's what Team Italy was able to do. How do you find the off time?
I think it's more difficult. You have all day to just kind of linger around. Maybe you'll stretch. Maybe you'll do a light workout just to get your body moving. But it's all day that you're just sitting around. Some teams come to the field and watch just to kind of not be at the hotel and getting lethargic and tired. So I personally don't like it. I want to get out there, get going, get moving. And I think a lot of athletes feel that same way.
How early would you guys start your warm-up as a strikeout for Samantha Ryan as she posts her second of the game? This one on Zoe Stavru. Would you guys be here 2 hours before? 3?
With Team Italy, that would vary. It could be 45 minutes. It could be an hour and a half. I think most teams go for that hour and a half, 2 hours. You don't want to really be rushed, but sometimes that happens with games and tournaments and traffic even on the way to the field.
Absolutely.
So you have to prepare for everything.
Well, always enjoying your perspective, going through the process, tournaments, Olympics, qualifiers. Amanda Fama played in all of them, including the 21 Summer Games. In the COVID affected, unfortunately, for all the athletes, including Amanda, didn't get an Olympic Games the way they had hoped. But I know in chatting with Amanda about the qualifier in 2019 that you have very fond memories of that, don't you?
I do. That was an amazing time for Team Italy. We had our head coach, Enrico, there with us. But from what I've heard from other athletes, that qualifying experience was really the pinnacle of that whole Olympic journey in a sense. And it was a great experience. I know you were here with Team Canada for the qualifier as well, and so I'm sure you felt some of that.
Yeah, it was an awesome time in Canada and Mexico. Able to move on, and Canada winning its first medal off of Ryan's glove. Harshman deep in the hole and made a strong throw.
She's having a great game at second base. Great job reading that ball. Difficult play when it tips off the pitcher's glove.
Shortstop, number 33, Zoe Milanopoulos.
She reads that well, gets behind it, all her weight on that glove side, and a good throw to first.
An excellent throw. As the batter, as Maria Zepeda left this game, she was hit by a pitch, and that's why things changed for Team Greece. It brought Milanopoulos into the game. Zoe was not in their starting lineup. So Borneus moving into right field in place of Zepeda. And Milanopoulos, the youngster, in the game at short, where she's been busy since entering the game very early on. Came in for the top of the second. 2 outs after the fine play by Kelsey Harshman. Got a lot on the throw. Nice drop. In on the hands. One of the best pitches of the day for 21-year-old Samantha Ryan. Canada's starter. Don Bodrug continues to warm up. Milanopoulos past the diving Janet Leung. And the 18-year-old has a base hit, much to the delight of everyone in the Greek dugout. Zoe Milanopoulos, her first hit in an international competition. And those you seem to remember for a long, long time. Milanopoulos aboard for Brianna Nikaza, who doubled and drove in a couple. Her first at-bat as she launched one into the gap in right center. Zoe Milanopoulos, born in the year 2006. So she is 17. Turned 17 on the 27th of January. I would say that future is bright.
Yeah,
Very.
What a great opportunity to be playing at that age. I was a junior in high school at that time, had no clue really about international softball, and for them to be aware of it at such a young age and be playing in tournaments like this, it's, like you said, they have a great future ahead of them.
And hits this hard. Again, Nikaza, and ranging over to make a good play in center is Callum Pilgrim, who's feeling it in this tournament, both in the field and at the plate, as she tracks down this Nikaza drive, this time to left center. Canada leading by 4 after 3 on day 2 of the Canada Cup. Canada in front by 4, trying to improve its early round robin record to 2-0, and it's their first of 2 today. The next one, a big one. It is against Team Italy. Italy, one of the best teams in the world in recent times, qualified for the 2020, played in 2021 Summer Olympic Games when softball returned to the Olympic program for the first time since 2008, and unfortunately will not be in Paris next summer. In fact, the World Cup of softball will be played in Italy, and it will come to a conclusion 5 days before the Summer Olympics begins in Paris, France. And a pop-out for Janet Leung to begin the top of the 4th inning for Canada. As Janet singled, scored, hit by a pitch, and now popped out. Kiana Jones is 0 for 1. Had a sacrifice fly and a run batted in the 4-run Canadian first. And then popped out to Zoe Milanopoulos at short in her second time up, and Milanopoulos back. She'll give way. And that all the way was Olivia Pess's ball out and left. And quickly, Kyla Benz, who started and remains in the circle for Greece, has a couple of quick Canadian outs. Callum Pilgrim, her great tournament continues. 1 for 2 today. Drives pass back. And that's a very quick defensive inning this week for Team Greece. I think the pitch count was 6.
Great inning.
6-2, Canada going to the bottom of the 4th here at Softball City. Some defensive changes for Canada as we head to the bottom of the 4th, and the Canadians in front of Greece, 6-2. A new pitcher is Dawn Bodrug. Takes over. Her first appearance. Sarah Groenwagen went the entire 5 innings last night, the Canadian ace. And Canada has very high hopes moving forward for Dawn Bodrug, 23 years of age, from Georgetown, Ontario, attending Stony Brook College, where she went 19-7 in 2022, pitched 174 2/3 innings, and also does some coaching with the Halton Hawks program. And her first pitch is sent by Nicole Cattell into center field for a base hit. And Cattell has her first hit of the Canada Cup. Canada with some defensive changes. Kristen Boyd started as the designated player. She's come in at shortstop for Janet Leung. Bodrug, obviously, we've referenced that. Kelsey Harshman remains at second base. And tough to see in some respects into the outfield. That is the only thing about what I found in regards to calling games from this location. The official scorer in a lot of press box situations will be up here and it's easily accessible, but that group of people is right at field level. And nice for Bodrug to come back and strike out left fielder Olivia Pass. Bodrug throws hard.
She does, especially when she elevates it. It's hard to catch up to.
And there's the exact pitch you just talked about. The high rise, swung on and missed by Eve Bornius. This is a very young Greek national team that they have brought here. Staying with the same pitch. Dawn was supposed to participate in this event. She made the trip. She was here, but did not play last summer due to an injury and might have given up a first pitch base hit, but she's roared right back with 2 impressive strikeouts.
And that's what Dawn does. She might give up a base hit, but she'll come back and get you 3 pitches upstairs, and you might know it's coming, but to be able to catch up to it, like I said, it's frustrating for a batter.
Polidorus in to run for Cattell. That's a courtesy runner for the catcher. And actually, it has to be Borneus, and it is. Thought it was 16, but it's 18. Polidorus is on deck. Colander is having a quality start to the day. She's 2 for 2. And she is in the designated player role today. Molly Colander. And the high rise continues to be Bodrug's bread and butter. The hard-throwing right-hander. Good movement on that rise, which I'm sure you have probably seen with your own 2 eyes.
I've seen 3 pitches upstairs real quick, and then I was back in the dugout.
Well, Colander not far from that story. Don Bodrug gave up a first pitch base hit and then said, I'm going to take care of business. 3 consecutive strikeouts for the new Canadian pitcher. And Canada in command after 4 complete in South Surrey. Nicole Rivet, the Canadian catcher. Natalie Weidman is Canada's starting catcher. Given the afternoon off, she'll be behind the plate. That is almost a certainty tonight in the big showdown at 6 o'clock. Game of the day in the women's tournament. Canada and Italy in a precursor in the tournament and for the upcoming World Cup qualifier in Italy. Hit hard. Jana Want knocked it down and threw Nicole Rivet out.
Great job staying with that.
And she hit it with authority over there to the hot corner. What I really liked about that play too, Amanda, is I remember my longtime baseball coach growing up in Saskatoon, Spiro Likas, would get not upset, but would remind us, when you have knocked the ball down with your glove, there's no reason to put it in your glove again. Pick it up with your bare hand, get yourself set, and make a throw. And that's the first thing that came to mind when I watched that. Because, again, if you make that exchange and then maybe you flip it out of your glove, it was always a pet peeve for my minor baseball coach. And I think for good reason.
Yeah, a good pet peeve to have. Like you said, it takes extra time away, especially when you have a fast runner, a fast hitter running down the line. You don't want to waste extra time. You see athletes pick it up with their glove or even pick it up with their bare hand, put it back in the glove to throw it. So she did a great job just going straight forward with her bare hand and getting a good throw over to first.
She's from Stony Creek, Ontario, at least by my research. Playing for Team Greece. Gina Want. Grace Mesmer in her second consecutive Canada Cup, having a day. She is 2 for 2 with a double and 2 of Canada's 6 runs driven in for Grace Mesmer. And Grace on base for a third consecutive time today. This time, she draws the 1-out walk. Grace participated in last summer's World Games for Canada. Just had the 2 at-bats. Played in the fall's Pan American qualifier where Canada finished second. Mexico was third in Guatemala. And Kristen Boyd now at shortstop for Canada. Her third plate appearance. 0 for 1 officially. She walked in the third. And a chat between Cattell and Kyla Benz, who's gone the entire way for Team Greece. No activity for either team here in the top of the 5th. Coming up next, a special time as Team Ukraine. The U19 team in Canada coming over thanks to the incredible generosity of this community and people around the world. I know I was happy to chip in regards to their venture, and boy, I hope they're having a great time. It doesn't matter.
For them to be here is something special. I think it's a great time to show that softball is more than just winning and losing. And the athletes that I've played with, the friends that I've made, it's lifelong friends, and it's exactly what softball is. It's the whole world together, and that shows with bringing Ukraine out here.
And I know I have personally heard stories about in preparation, practicing, having their practices stopped for a couple hours at a time with rocket fire and missiles overhead, and you can say it, and it just staggering. So for those young women, as Boyd drills it down the line for extra bases. Mesmer scores. Boyd safe with a triple. And there's the Moose Horns again. And Kristen Boyd has her first ever Canada Cup hit for the Canadian senior women's team. And it was launched down the line and left. And she has good speed. Got around the bags in short order, and Canada extends its lead to 5. And Tony Foti, the head coach of Team Italy, is going to make a change as Kyla Ben's afternoon is over. And here she comes again, Julia Apostolakos. And we've seen her now in 3 consecutive games. Apostolakos has pitched 4 2/3 innings so far in the tournament. Given up 6 hits, 6 runs. Only 3 of them have been earned. She's struck out 2 and walked 6. And she is a very young player. Apostolakos turned 19 on the 24th of March.
I actually was able to talk to Julia for a second and something she was talking about was what softball means to her and what she loves about it, and it's meeting and sharing softball with the world. So going back to Ukraine being out here, how special it is, and I think every athlete here understands what it means to have Ukraine out here, how special it is. And you're telling stories about their practice and what their practices must be like and how they can get back to practice after a scary situation, a threat or something like that. They can get back to something that makes them feel safe and feel together. So to bring them here to be with different countries and be with other athletes that respect them and respect what's going on in their country, it just gave me goosebumps. It's what softball is all about and why most of us play the sport, including Julia.
Well, that was beautifully told. And it is really, in so many ways, the biggest story. Sometimes I think we forget in our world that sports are played by humans. And without our health or safety, nothing else really matters. And I'm just so delighted that they have this experience. And frankly, for a couple of weeks, they're always going to worry about what's going on in their home and native land, where I'm not going to get into political things. It's not the right time or the right place, and my thoughts don't matter. But what delights me is the fact that for a couple of weeks, they'll have an experience of a lifetime, and they can come here and play and feel safe.
Absolutely.
Apostolakos is Riley Crane shortened up. Did she step on the plate? She stepped on the plate. And that was a quick decision, and 22-year-old Riley Crane called out, the second out of the inning. And that brings up once again Canada's leadoff batter, and I would suggest their number one hitter. Number one, Kelsey Harshman, reached on an error, singled, and struck out. So officially 1 for 3 in the game. 2 for 4 officially in the tournament. And Apostolakos misses down and away for ball 1. Apostolakos from Toms River, New Jersey, out of Donovan Catholic High School. Mentioned it yesterday on a couple of occasions, well worth mentioning again, was the 21-22 New Jersey Softball Player of the Year. Just finished her senior season in high school, where she batted a stellar .518 and struck out 232 batters for Donovan Catholic High School, committed to make her way collegiately to a good program, an excellent Division I program in the University of South Florida, which, if you are unfamiliar, is located in Tampa Bay, Florida. And Kelsey Harshman on base for the second time as she draws a 2-out walk. And with her at bat in that situation, I would have given her absolutely nothing to hit. And that's good work by Apostolakos and catcher Cattell. Canada, Zoe Hicks, impressive. 2 hits yesterday, 2 more today. Couple of doubles for Hicks. 4 for 6 in the tournament. And good eye as she takes it. It was just outside from Apostolakos. Canada with 8 hits. Greece with 6. They've committed a couple of errors. As Apostolakos gets the sign. And missing high to Hicks. A newcomer to the Canadian women's team And the 25-year-old from Boissevain, Manitoba, has been impressive and had a good cut at that. She looked a little disappointed, thought she might have been a little behind it as she fouled it away. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Zoe Hicks. And drew my attention with her opening night appearance in Nashville against the Women's Professional League's Florida Vibe. Drove in 5 in Canada's opening game win of that set. Drives it foul, out of play. And looks determined for hit number 3 of the game. And what would be hit number 5 of the tournament. Japan leading the way as far as team batting average is concerned after another quick victory. They have yet to participate in any more than 5 innings here in their 3 consecutive wins. And Apostolakos wanted that pitch, and it just missed. As the count runs full to Canada's Zoe Hicks, playing today in right field.
This is a big pitch here.
A good pitch and stays alive, bounces it foul. And Apostolakos delivered it, I think, exactly where she wanted to. And Hicks just able to stay alive. Canada to face Italy. Join us for that one tonight at 6. The game of the day, in my estimation, in the tournament, in Apostolakos. That's not an easy out. Her first strikeout in relief, and it ends the Canadian threat in the 5th as Canada leads by 5. It's 7-2 on day 2 of softball's Canada Cup. Don Bodrug in the circle for Canada. 3 consecutive strikeouts after giving up a base hit on her first pitch, replacing Samantha Ryan, who was the Canadian starter this afternoon. And a swing and a miss from Georgia Polidorus, who has singled and scored and reached on a fielder's choice back in the 2nd. The high rise misses in tight as Don says, that one's on me. 1 ball and 1 strike to center fielder Georgia Polidorus. And had a healthy cut at the rise ball, but a swing and a miss again. And if Canada is going to qualify this summer in that event and push to win this tournament, I think the pitcher on the rubber right now might have a big say in it. Obviously, Groenewegen is the Canadian ace and starter, the 28-year-old veteran. But Canada really in search of whether it's Morgan Rackle or Don Bodrug. You need more than one to give you quality innings against elite competition. How important is that?
It's huge. I was just going to say, to have a deep pitching roster is so important because these teams see each other so often. We're able to watch film. We watch them in Athletes Unlimited, that sometimes your ace starts to get hit real early. So you have to have a 2, a 3, a 4 to be able to back up that ace. And so it's super important, even like we talked about yesterday, going from speed to spin or vice versa. It's you play your opponent that you're playing then, not necessarily your best pitcher on the roster. You're playing against a specific team and their weakness. So to have 3 or 4 different pitching styles in players is huge.
Well, and part of the whole process, especially when Canada plays Italy, is the decisions that the two coaches will make in terms of who do you throw 2 weeks prior to, I don't want to undersell. This is a marvelous event, and it means a lot, and it means a lot to Canada. They'd love nothing more than to win this tournament again. But there is no doubt, if you are the Canadian or the Italian coaching staff, you're thinking every bit as much, right, about you want to qualify for next summer's event. Well, Italy is going to be there, so maybe it isn't as important even for them.
But for Canada, it's huge because Italy already has that berth to the World Cup. So there's different ways you can play it. You can put your ace in and see what your number one team has, or you can save it. And so it depends on that coach and that day and their strategy and what they're going for. So it's going to be interesting tonight to see where they go with that.
Stavrou has the second hit off Podrug, who had reeled off 4 consecutive strikeouts. Stavrou, a good hitter. She's hit the ball hard the last couple of days and is rewarded with a single in the 5th. Jana Want steps in with 1 out and 1 on. Canada with just 1 more hit than Italy in the game. It's 8-7. Italy, pardon me. I have Italy on the brain.
That's not a bad thing.
No.
Come on.
I was lucky enough to get there about 6 years ago. It's well worth it. High in the air, sky high. And Riley Crane able to haul it in, playing in left. And I'm sure we will see the veteran and Olympian, Erica Polidori, back in her familiar spot tonight in the Canadian game versus Italy. Italy losing to Japan yesterday. Poole cued, trouble on the spin, and allows Milanopoulos to reach for a second consecutive time. Those spinners can cause havoc, and it just did.
So tough. So tough with the spin coming off the cap of the bat. But good job on the grease side to continue to run. Sometimes you get upset with hitting that ball, but to run it out, that's why we always run it out and run fast.
And the youngsters, Louis Milanopoulos, gets down the line quickly. She's a quality athlete, throws it well, good swing, runs well. Brandon Akaz had a good day at home plate. She doubled and hit another ball hard that Callum Pilgrim had to track down in deep center field. Lays off Bodrug's number one pitch. It's the rise. Looks like it's at your waist and then takes off. Aren't the more difficult ones the ones that seem to explode right before they get to you?
They're all difficult, but yeah, that one in particular. And again, going back to pitchers' windups, hiding the ball. You can't get a glimpse of it until it's released, and so that makes it even more difficult where it just explodes out of her hands.
And Dawn in the 6-foot neighborhood. So she's closer to about 36 by the time she releases it, and with authority. Another strikeout for Dawn Bodrug. 5 in her 2 innings of work. And Canada continues to lead comfortably 7-2 as they look to go to 2-0 at the Canada Cup. Janet Leung re-enters the game to bat. A hit, scored a run, hit by a pitch, and then popped out to the pitcher. High fly in short right field. Eve Bornius takes care of that for Team Greece in the top of the 6th inning. Brings to the plate 21-year-old Kiana Jones, who hails right here from Surrey. An exciting time, grew up playing in this event in younger divisions, and now playing for her country in the senior women's event for a 2nd consecutive Canada Cup. Played and was very successful in the 2022 version. Julia Postolakos looks down at her signal chart, which is on her left wrist. Teams have different ways of signaling pitches. And Jones trying to drive it down the right side of the diamond, fouls it off. The 1-2. Pitching coach Shan McDonald, long-time softball coach and player. Coach for almost 20 years at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. College star at the University of Texas A&M. Did great things Pitched for Canada in the World Games in 1981 in Santa Clara, California. There's a big reason the Saskatoon Harmony Centers won the 1980 Canadian Championship. Coached China at the Olympics. And yes, I might know a little about her and her history. I've known her since I was 13 years old. Or 14.
You were the bat boy for her, weren't you?
I was. And then I became the statistician. I know that you'd find that hard to believe. I don't enjoy numbers. Oh, I like these numbers.
Nice.
Kiana Jones adding to her positive numbers. Polidorus juggled, and Kiana Jones aggressively turns that into 2 bases rather than just 1.
With no hesitation is what I like. She sees the center fielder bobble it, and she's looking 2 the whole way.
And a single and an error to Georgia Polidorus. And Canada with a runner in scoring position. Team Ukraine. The stars of the show in many ways, playing in the U19 Futures Gold Division. 2 U19 divisions, 2 U17 divisions to go along with the 8-team Women's International Division. It is a massive undertaking, this Canada Cup, and it's not just about the international play. So what a highlight for those players on both the Aloha Breeze and for Team Ukraine. Great touch by Greg Tim and his great committee that puts on this marvelous event year in and year out here to give them center stage. And hopefully another great memory. Sarah Groenwagen on to bat, which she's very adept at. She is an excellent hitter as she pops out. A lot of times in this sport at the highest level, pitchers don't swing the bat. And she won't necessarily on a regular basis anymore, but I even remember her going back to her first Team Canada appearance, which was in 2013 at the World Junior Women's in Brampton. And as impressed as I was with her in 2013 as a pitcher, which was evident she had a great future before she went on to star both for Canada and the University of Minnesota, where she's one of the all-time great pitchers in that program's history. But she could hit. She flies out that time, hitting in place of Callum Pilgrim. There's a little at-bat for Sarah. And while I have not spent a ton of time around Sarah, she has a great personality, and she would be asking for... She likes to hit. That's who she is.
Yeah, not too often you see pitchers hitting, but it seems they always want that chance if they get it. The ones that can get on base, most of them can. I know Team Italy has a couple pitchers that can hit, Mexico as well. It's always something to be watching for. If you see a pitcher at bat, you want to pay attention.
Nicole Rive at bat right now. She is the catcher today for Canada, playing its first of 2 games. Apostolakos goes upstairs with a rise, and it's fouled off by Nicole Rive. Was the designated player in the 9-0 win against Australia last night. She's 22 years of age, from Oakville, Ontario, suburb of Toronto. Played for 4 years at Bucknell University before this year strutting her stuff at Canisius, where she had an excellent season. Hit .338 with 5 home runs and 29 runs batted in. Her last home run of the collegiate season came May 6th in a game against Mount St. Mary's. Batted .310 with 65 runs batted in her 4 years at Bucknell. And stays alive on the outside pitch, courtesy of Apostolakos. A defensive swing and a 2-2 count to give herself another opportunity for a hit and potentially a run batted in. Nicole's hit the ball pretty hard today, but she is 0 for 3 officially on the afternoon. Played for the Canadian Development or Elite team back in the 2018 Canada Cup. On the ground, and Nakaza takes it off the side, but does make the play and end the inning. A 1-2-3 top of the 6th for Julia Apostolakos and Team Greece as they trail by 5 as we head to the bottom of the 6th. Catcher Nicole Kittel to lead it off for Team Greece, requiring a significant comeback. They do have their first 2 runs of the Canada Cup in their 3rd game. A record of 0-2. Played twice on day number 1, losing to Israel 4-0, and then fell 7-0 to Mexico in the nightcap. Don Bodrug, 5 strikeouts in 2 innings of work since replacing the Canadian starter, Samantha Ryan. And Canada will have a short break and be back on the diamond tonight at 6 or shortly thereafter, depending on the length of our next game, which is not in the women's international division. It is Team Ukraine on Ukraine Day at the Canada Cup, as they'll take center stage. And a story that is in many ways incomprehensible in terms of what they deal with in their home country right now, but great that they are here. As Grace Mesmer, those are not easy plays, are they, Amanda?
That's a tough play for Messer. She went far back the line. She went down the line a long ways, called off the shortstop, and had a real tough angle. And the sun's up there, so trying to see the angle of the sun. Even though she's got a visor on, the sun still plays a part in that.
Grace Mesmer has a couple of hits today to go along with that fine defensive effort. Olivia Pass. They still have a lot of juice in the Greek dugout, which is awesome. And Bodreg paints the inside corner with what looked to me to be a low rise. Her out pitch is the high rise primarily. And location matters so much. She goes right back to the same spot and just missed to Olivia Pess, who was flown out and struck out against Bodrug. The strikeout came in her first inning of work in the fourth. And evens the count with that pitch at 2-2. And if I was a betting man, and thank goodness I am not.
You going up here?
I'm going up. Out and up. Change up. That might be the first one of those that Dawn Bodrug has thrown, and it was a good one for strikeout number 6.
That was a great pitch. You can see where the catcher ends up catching it nice and low out of the strike zone, but hitters are still going to chase that out in front.
It's a nice one to add to your repertoire. Bodrug missing to Eve Bornius. One of now 6 Greek hitters to strike out against Dawn. On back-to-back pitches, she opts drop, down and in, and missed with both of them this time. Three consecutive balls. First time that Bodrug, since she came into the game, has been behind in the count. 6 strikeouts. She's given up a pair of hits since entering the game in the fourth. And comes right back with a strike on Eve Bornius, another youngster. Some of these teams, I shouldn't even refer to them that way because they're loaded with young players. And a hit for Bornius. Her first of the Canada Cup. Great to see. And I hear a lot of appreciation to my right, even through the headset. Is Eve Bornius. She turned 21 on June 23rd. Back to the top of the order, and Molly Colander in on her hands and fouled that back. She struck out against Bodrug in the fourth. Prior to that, back-to-back base hits against Samantha Ryan. So she's 2 for 3 on the afternoon. Day 2 of 7. We'll wrap things up with a great championship final night here on Sunday at 6 Pacific time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Wherever you might be looking in. Great job by Luciano Lafrano and his lovely wife. Softball Premier TV bringing you the video production. And when the catcher holds it that long, you know what they wanted. 2 balls and a strike to Molly Colander. Her timing was good, having a good at-bat against Dawn Bodrug. I think just really coming into her own at the international level. She'll be interesting to track over the next number of years.
A lot of girls on this Greek squad will be fun to watch in the next couple of years coming up.
Ouch, that took a bite out of Nicole Rive as Kaylee Rafter, who knows all about balls, taking a bite out of the catcher. And what a great one she was for a long time. Remember watching her in her early days for Team Canada at an international event in Kitchener, Ontario, all the way back in the year 2008. It's the first time I had a chance to watch Kaylee Rafter along with Jennifer Salling, who at that point was Canada's shortstop. And then 13 years later, they helped Canada win an Olympic bronze medal. And I'm not sure Jen Salling, who's coaching Team Canada, she's their hitting coach, and for good reason, one of Canada's best. She hit more than 400 at the Olympic Games, and there were not a lot of those totals in that 6-team competition. Lucky 7 for Don Bodrug. 7 strikeouts in 3 innings that she's pitched, and Canada closing in on a second straight victory. They're 3 outs away on day 2 at the Canada Cup.
I think it's
Grace Mesmer from nearby Cloverdale. Matter of fact, this tournament is being played at the younger levels at Cloverdale Park, not very far from here. Took a gander at it last year when I called the tournament. About 15 minutes away, unless you're driving with me, and then it could turn into about 75 minutes. The directionally challenged Peter Lubardius. I have much better direction, I think, behind the mic for the most part than behind the wheel. So I've said, and thank goodness she likes to drive, I said, I'm not doing this to you ever again, Amanda. As we extended our drive after a lengthy day at the park.
we shared some good stories.
We did. It has been a highlight for me in the last couple of days. I just have always found this sport to be filled with terrific people and great experiences and so kind. It's nice to meet Marta Gasparotto of Team Italy this morning in the hotel and watch the 2 former teammates banter a little bit about who's taller.
She should be, though. She's athletic and stretching every day, and I'll give her that.
Yeah.
She can have it now.
Yeah, because you're not in very good shape. Yeah, it was the last time in your gym days when you decided that maybe you weren't going to play for the national team anymore. And I'm being as sarcastic as any human could be. She is as fit can be. Kristen Boyd with a double after Rive just popped out to center to start the Canadian 7th, and we'll get back to ball. But I do love the interaction. We are at a hotel where certainly Italy is staying, and I don't think they're the only team at our hotel, which, by the way, has a great bed. I love a good bed. I don't use it enough, or stay in it long enough, but I like them. Kristen Boyd, an impressive double in her last appearance in the game. And it was an RBI double that allowed Canada to score a run in the 5th. 4 in the 1st, 2 in the 3rd, and 1 more in the 5th. The teams actually Both have 9 hits in the game. And Julia Apostolakos, in her 3rd consecutive appearance at this Canada Cup, has a strikeout. As she sits down, Kristen Boyd. "22-year-old Riley Crane vying for her first hit of the afternoon. She's 0 for 3 and had a good cut at the first offering from Apostolakos. Better with the name in the afternoon than in the evening. And considering my heritage is half of that particular nation, I think it is completely inexcusable for me to ever mess up. Although it's funny, and I won't tell the story now, but I did receive a phone call working in Saskatoon one night telling me how I was pronouncing my own Greek heritage last name the wrong way from an angry viewer who was a local in Saskatoon who didn't like the fact that on my sports show one night was not very happy about Greece beating Canada at the 1994 World Basketball Championship. So informed me that it was Loubardia, not Loubardius. And technically...
Were they right?
Well, I don't know. Don't I get a say in how I pronounce my own name? Riley Crane, I don't think that's been mispronounced. And it eludes Jana Want, takes a big turn, and a strong throw in from Olivia Pess in left field keeps Riley Crane at first, but Riley has her second hit of the tournament and first of the day with 2 out in the top of the 7th inning. Canada's first of 2, pardon me.
I was just saying that's a well-placed ball by Crane. That's a tough play for a third baseman to make, and she got her bat out there and just, we say, kind of poked it down the line.
Kelsey Harshman still in the game. Been on base 3 different times, singled in the first, reached on an error to second base, and then on a walk her last time up. So that's officially 1 for 3 with a run scored for Kelsey Harshman. And if Canada is to play for the title in this 8-team event come Sunday evening, this woman will have her bat and glove all over it. And had a nice twist and turn. Would not be surprised, and I nor would you. Canada does have 1 home run to its credit. That came last night off the bat of Callum Pilgrim. And Kelsey, she hits it hard almost every single time to all fields. Crane will be held at third by Chris Jones. And a double for the hard-hitting professional hitter that is Kelsey Harshman. It's about the 4th time in the event that things have been done on cue, which is always much appreciated in the booth. And we have a pinch hitter for Zoe Hicks. And Madeline McKinnon, who also performed for Canada, another youngster in last year's tournament. Primarily a catcher. I was a tad confused just for a second because if memory serves me correctly, she wore number 18 for Canada at last year's Canada Cup, now donning the number 6. And Apostolakos delivers a strike to Madeline McKinnon in her second consecutive Canada Cup. She's only 19, and she's from right here in Surrey. played this past season collegiately at McLennan Community College in Waco, Texas, where she hit .286 with 10 runs batted in. Prior to that, she was at... Oh, that was her first stop. Madeline. Ooh. To the chagrin of the entire Greek team, that was not a strike, and it was close. Apostolakos thought she had her second strikeout in her relief appearance today. The starter was Kyla Benz.
That was a pretty close pitch. I'm sure Madeline's happy that went her way.
Madeline was 0 for 3 last year in this tournament. Played in 2 games against Canadian senior powerhouse, the Calahoo Arons out of Alberta, and also participated in a game against the Philippines, who were part of last year's Canada Cup squad, and a strikeout. The rise, swung on and missed. Apostolakos has another strikeout, and Team Greece has another at-bat. But they've got a lot of work to do. Down by 5.
Le retour dans le match, un vote sur le droit à la deuxième position des frappeurs, le numéro 13. Re-entering the game in the 2 spot, playing right field, number 13, Zoe Hicks.
Georgia Polydorus, the Greek center fielder, as Team Greece needs a large rally. If they're going to extend their third game, they're 0-2, trailing Canada, one of the favorites here this week. The reigning Olympic bronze medalists beat Mexico in 2021 in the bronze medal game, and in that Olympic tournament, Canada gave both the U.S. and Japan all they could handle. Did not beat them. In the air, playable, and caught by Grace Mesmer. And quickly, one away for Dawn Bodrug, who's been excellent in relief. Not giving up a run, 7 strikeouts. Has yielded 4 hits. One of those to the current batter, Zoe Stavrou. Change up, hit well. Over the head of Crane and off the wall. And Stavrou, a second hit for Zoe. And Greece with a runner in scoring position on the one-out double by Zoe Stavrou. And I thought just briefly like it might leave the yard.
I thought the same thing, Peter. I was excited. But again, I love that she was so aggressive on that first pitch.
Tony Foti coming over to chat with Shan McDonald. looks like we're going to have a change as Tony's gone to the lineup card, and the Canadians are gathering as they try to end this one sooner rather than later. They have another game, and it's a large one in this round robin, as they will face off against Team Italy. And a pinch runner for Zoe Stavru.
Second base, number 9, Sydney Scapin.
Sydney Scapin, I believe that's the first time she has made an appearance in the event. The pinch runner for Team Greece. Sydney, born in the year 2004. She's from Pensacola, Florida. Played this past season. Another youngster at West Florida High School. And a big swing from Jana Want, who's 17. Sydney Scapin is committed to South Alabama University moving forward. She also plays club ball for the SoCal Athletic Program. Running for Zoe Stavru is Jana Want. Sends it over the screen. Jana batted .381 for the U17 Whitby Eagles from Ontario. She also plays for the Southern California Athletics Program. These players, they go wherever they have to get better. Whoa! A souvenir for the booth. And gone. And almost a lost right ankle. How the goodness did that get this close? That's going right in my bag if I can find it. I can tell you that. Yeah, as you should. Somebody has it, and they said they're going to give it to a youngster.
Sorry, Peter.
No, don't worry about it. That's exactly where it would go, and I'd be mad if it didn't.
I would have dove for it if I saw it coming.
High in the air.
Just for you.
Thank you. The catch made by Riley Crane in Canada, now 1 out away from improving their record to 2-0 in Canada's most difficult games here this week, still in front of them. And one of them's upcoming in the 6 o'clock window tonight here against Italy. Italy 0-1 in the tournament after losing to Japan. Canada also with Japan, Mexico, Italy, and TC Colorado left on their schedule. You would say the only game left for Canada where they would be heavily favored would be their game against Israel.
Yeah. Other than that, they've got tough games rest of the week.
Top 4 teams of 8 have an extra life come playoff time on Saturday. The way it works is if you finish in the top 4, those teams cross over 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 to stay in what used to be called the A bracket, while 5 through 8 have only 1 life. Zoe Milanopoulos, more action for Riley Crane in Canada. Shuts out Greece for the last 6 innings after giving up 2 in the first, and win it 7-2, run their record to a perfect 2-0. And any final thoughts from you before we shut it down for a few?
No, just a good game. It was good to see Greece get some runners on, some hits. And it's going to be interesting to see how Canada takes this momentum into tonight's game.
Well, we're really looking forward to that, and really looking forward in about 25 minutes' time to the treat coming next. Softball is about far more than wins and losses, and it's a special day. We will celebrate, watch, and broadcast Team Ukraine, who have made their way thanks to the great donations of many that allowed them to make their way from their war-torn country to perform in this great tournament. They'll play the Aloha Breeze next, just after 3:30, and we'll have it for you right here. You've been watching the Canada Cup, the Women's International Division on Softball Premier TV from South Surrey, British Columbia. Bye for now.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas. Live games, news, tournaments, and much, much more. The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a Premier member now. SoftballPremierTV.com. Live it on Softball Premier.